Welcome to the Isha I Am Woman show where needed conversations happen. I am your host, Isha, and I'm so delighted. I'm so excited that you are here joining me tonight for this very exciting conversation. Let me tell you something. This is a conversation that is so much needed, and I'm so glad that you're here. I'm over the moon. I'm just simply over the moon. The Isha I Am Woman show focuses on empowering, enlightening, and equipping women and girls with a special focus on the effects of childhood trauma on adult behavior. And tonight's conversation with our very special guest, very special guest that I'm honored to have. I'm just like, want to talk to you about how do I get this thing right? Because sometimes this thing in doing life and doing it right, you have to learn from those who have gone before you. And I am a person who is under submission. Any leader who's trying to lead other people needs to be a leader under submission. And so tonight we're going to be talking with Mr. Richard Adams on something that needs to be talked about. Stop fighting. People who have come into your life to help you to get better, stop fighting them. I have been one who has been guilty of fighting, just fighting the system and fighting. And so I want to introduce our guest that's coming on. That's Mr. Richard Adams. And let me tell you, this is the CEO, the man with the vision, the man with the plan, the man who makes things happen. And so I want to bring him on to introduce himself to you guys and let everybody know what he does and what he's done in my life and how he's helped me to get even to this point, because this was not an easy road. Let me tell you. Rich, come on in. Come talk to us. Come talk.
Real quick to tell you a little bit about I'm the CEO of Megasource Entertainment, which is short for MSC Network, which is a conglomerate of several personalities, i.e. Isha I Am Woman is one of our personalities here on Sundays. So I just want to dive into the conversation. This is her show. I am a guest and I will govern myself accordingly. For those of you who know me, hello to you. If this is your first time meeting me, hopefully we'll meet again on my platform. Maybe you'll come by. But real quick about myself, I'm a natural motivator. God has given me the spirit of discernment, but also the spirit to help and assist people, and that's what I enjoy most, which is helping those people that have potential. And Isha is one of those people that has a significant amount of talent and potential, and that's why we're here tonight. So with that being said, thank you guys for taking the time to listen to me ramble on about myself. I'm going to hand it back over to Isha. Thank you, Isha, for having me on.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's an honor to once again have you. Let me tell you, the reason why we're here is because of my fight. And it is generally, sometimes we as women have a tendency, the Isha I Am Woman show, it talks about women and where we are, and I talk about the woman's place in the world, and we do have a place and we do have a voice. However, sometimes we use that voice and that place out of order. I speak from my own personal experience. I can't tell everybody what to do, but I can say what Isha has done, and Isha has oftentimes been out of order and not followed the proper structure. And so I'm here because I have been guilty of fighting the system. And so we're going to be talking about 3 different areas in how we fight as women. Now, we've been trained as women just to fight. Get in there. You're supposed to fight. Fight your way to the top. Fight your way in this world. You have a voice. Speak out. Yeah, we do have a voice. But sometimes if we don't follow proper structure and proper authority, we get that voice all out of whack. We lead people all in the wrong direction. And so, Rich, as you're here talking to us tonight, what I'm going to be sharing and we're going to dive into is how we as women want to have our voice, have our place in the world, but know that as we are leaders, we are to lead from the middle. So thank you so much again for coming on. And we're going to dive right into our conversation and our first point, because our first point, it talks about how we're to comply with this world. What are we to do? How are we to fight? Sometimes we find ourselves fighting the system, right? Fighting the system. And we don't have to fight the system if we learn how to operate in the system. And so we're going to dive into that. Rich, tell me, how was I had my own agenda, and I did not want to comply with this system. I did not want to comply. The system that we are in, as far as like media and being a personality, I did not want to comply. I had all this creativity and all these things I wanted to do and all these wonderful ideas, but I didn't want to fight. I didn't want to comply with the system. I wanted to fight. I wanted to make it do what I wanted it to do. So I found myself in failure. So, Rich, talk to us about how we should do. What are some things that we can do to get it better, to keep from making the mistakes that we have made?
Okay. And I want to thank you again for having me on the platform. But more than that, I want to acknowledge the fact that this young lady took it upon herself to be very transparent in her own walk. And thank you for allowing me to be a mentor in your life. Let me go back a little bit and explain to you how this all came about. Isha is a phenomenal writer, blogger, and I met her on social media and told her that I needed her assistance, and it was through that conversation I learned about the perishing of her mom and her sister, and I was like, wow, you have a story. So I brought her onto the show, onto my Talk Tuesday show, and she told us about the trauma and the tragedy that she had been through. But it's getting to know her. I was like, man, there's something unique about you. There's something that's powerful about you that I want to help you unveil, and I want to share that with the world. So I took it a notch further by bringing her onto the platform permanently and having her own show. One of the things I did is I told her to do whatever it is that you think is necessary. Give the world who you are. And that's where that started. So she started streaming, and we had sent her some equipment, and we did some training, but it's really intuitive to do this kind of thing. It is really not easy to do that. She took on a challenge to do it, and she did a really good job at it. But along the way, in my mentorship on helping her, and the whole conversation, I don't want to make it about her streaming and her podcast. I want to make it about her topic is stop fighting. So we're going to dig into that in a few. But the whole thing is I call it the $5 syndrome. Well, Isha would call on Sundays, and she would only want what she wanted. She didn't need to hear how we get to this point, what happened before, what happened after. She just want to fix it. She want to make it work. So at some point, I started giving her exactly what she asked for. How to make this work, figure it out, and I would let it go. And she'll be so frustrated. So frustrated. We're talking about being, I use the word obedient, not in a disrespectful way, but basically respecting and acknowledging and understanding whatever industry of life that you partake in, you have to respect it, or it won't respect you in turn. So that's how we got to that point. I would give her enough to get her going, and she would be gone, and she would be so frustrated. She would be exhausted mentally, emotionally, and felt like she wasn't getting help. And that's how we got to this point, because at some point we had a breakthrough conversation where I said these things to her. I said, you have got to respect and understand the industry before you can grow. And the light came on for her.
Tell me.
Yeah. So with that being said, what happened was I had been mentoring her along the way, but what she had been doing is fighting the mentorship, but taking the nuggets that she thought that she only needed this. So she only took what she wanted. so that she can have a successful podcast. By doing that, she was fighting the rest of whatever it was that I was offering as far as it relates to assistance.
Wow.
So that's exactly, I call it the five. I got a joke about it, the $5 syndrome, right? So someone borrows $5. Hey, I need $5 for gas. I know you can't get a gallon, but I need $5 for gas. You only want the $5. So I give you the $5, and then you come back and you want the $5. I need another five. I need another five. At some point, I'm going to say, I'm going to teach you how to make your own money so that you don't come back and request the $5. Most often, what people do is they discard the method,
Yes.
the industry, and they find themselves at a stagnating place and wonder why there's no growth. And then you begin to question God. You begin to question people around you, question everything else, but you're still stuck on all you want is just the $5, but you've been getting the $5. You, and I'm speaking to everyone that's listening, at some point you have to understand the whole scenario on what your needs are and how to get to the point where you can solidify and grow beyond what you think you need. So that's how, and I don't want to steal your show. I can babble on, but that's how we got to that point where it was really, really challenging, but we
Yes.
had a break. That's why we're having this show.
It is, and so that is something that we as people struggle with. Humanity, we struggle with submission, and that is really like a four-letter word to some people. Truly submitting to whatever industry you're in, whatever it is that you are being led by. Like some people, like if you have a desire even to be a wife, or you have a desire to be a great employee, if you have that desire within you, something also in you is fighting you to try to get where you're supposed to be. And so that's the struggle that I had. That's the struggle. And I have time. There are times when I'm sharing with my friends, or I'm sharing with somebody, dropping nuggets of wisdom with them. And then when they don't apply the nuggets of wisdom that I'm giving them, and then they come back and say, oh my God, I found myself in this situation, and I found myself, and I'm like, Lord Jesus, I told you, I told you, just all you have to do is just comply. All you have to do is just do exactly what I said. Just do what I said. That's it. They don't do it. And then they come back and say, oh man, I can't figure out why I'm here. You're here because you didn't listen. You didn't do it. And that is exactly why I even have found myself in that place and in that position. I've had times where I have not complied. And so what I am grateful for is because it's not easy. Let me tell you something. It is not easy just to yield. Sometimes if you have not been trained, which I'm a person who is guilty of not having been trained, not that I haven't been taught. Oh my gosh, that is something that you have to realize. People are teaching you. There are people who are in your life who come to teach you what to do, but you have to submit to the training. The teaching is available, but submission to the training is another skill. And so that is the skill that I do have, and I'm grateful for being able to have it. But let me tell you how long it took me to get here. It took me 20 something years to get here and say, oh, just give in. Is it stubbornness? Is it just outright disobedience? I'm telling you, it took a long time for me just to let go and say, somebody knows better than me. How about let them lead me? How about that? What if I do that? What if I did that? What would it be like for a leader to see the people that they are leading just doing what they said? How will it be? How would that be? How would that feel to you? Rich, tell me, how would that just actually feel to you if the people that you were leading just did what you said?
Well, here's the thing. In order to be a leader, like I didn't just get here. I had to serve in so many capacities and be in the shadows of so many wonderful people that knew so much more than I did. I had to be humble.
Yeah.
I had to be obedient to the craft. So there, even in my industry, I have a staff. We have a full production crew, and we have personalities, um, and all intelligent, educated people. But at some point, I still serve
Yes. Right.
because there's another level to whatever it is that you're doing. There's another level to what we're doing here at the network. So as a result, I have to serve under someone that knows a little bit more about the next level in order to get there. So the advice that I give folks, it it shouldn't fall on, deaf ears, because I'm telling you the route
Yeah.
that it takes, because I had to understand what obedience was to the industry, what obedience was to serving, to the gift. You're not just going to, and you're guilty of this, Aisha. You you learned enough. You're a very quick learner, and most of the people that work with me on the network are very quick learners. That's a gift and a curse, because as soon as you get to where you think you want to go, you feel like you know it.
Hmm.
And it's at that point when we stop seeking counsel and we start looking for the $5 effect.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want the whole counsel. I just want the nugget. Just give me the one piece. So if everyone would take the advice, because I'm watching people within my circle fall,
Yeah.
and I'm saying I've fallen so many times by doing what you're doing. If you would just do this, we could do so much better. You can be so much more advanced in your life if you don't make the mistakes. But some folks have to figure it out by themselves. But if we would just be submissive to the industry, whatever you're doing, whatever you serve, if you're teaching, if you're working, if you're a clerk, if you're a husband, if you're a wife, if you're serving in whatever capacity that you're serving it, if you would submit yourself to understanding the industry, life will change for you immediately.
Yes, I agree. I agree. Life would change would you for you immediately. I have a few comments, and thank you so much for Petra joining in. Thank you, Lynn, my best friend, for joining in. Thank you so much, Pastor Lucretia Renee Church, who awesome woman of God. She is my mentor too, who I submit a lot to. How what in her questions are: yielding is an alternative word for submission. Yielding means that you trust. Sometimes we don't submit out of fear. That is a very good question. That's a very awesome statement, because
It is.
we don't submit because of fear. Now, I only have a question about when we are in a place of fearing the people who we're around to submit to. Why are we there? Why? To me, just remove yourself from that situation. If the people you are supposed to be submitted to are not the best people to be submitted to, it is actually time to remove yourself. And that's okay. If that person is causing you harm, if they're causing you to feel fear, the people you're around should not cause you to feel fear. And if you're in that place, it may be time for you to pray about a transition, or where do I
Yes.
go next? Because I'm grateful for the people that I have in my life who I actually can trust. I can trust their counsel. I can trust their advice. I can trust I can trust their correction. And for a very long time, I went through not listening to my mentor, not following, and not being actually submitted or willingly cooperation, because submission is willful cooperation. I willingly cooperate with you. I didn't willfully cooperate. And not that that person meant me bad. My mentor didn't mean me bad. It's just that I was stubborn. And that's just the truth. Sometimes we are just stubborn, outright stubborn, and don't want to listen. But, that's just how we are. And so one of the areas that we fight in is the system. We want to fight the system, and we want the system to comply to who we are. But the system is not going to change. This system that we're using, it's not going to change. It's going to be what it is. And so just like if you get married, your husband, and we're going to lead into the next point, how we fight in relationships, or we just fight in leadership. We fight it, and like want to prick, like Paul did. Just why do you, God wasn't going to change for Paul. He was not going to change for Saul. He would change Saul's name, but he wasn't changing for Saul. He told Saul to change. And so that's the thing that we have to learn, that it is our responsibility to change. So then when you do that, you have to learn that it's okay to be pruned. It's okay to be pruned. It's okay to be changed and yield to that. And so we are to prune out of growth, prune for growth and not out of anger. And sometimes you have to prune. So how does that go as a leader, as you are as the leader, Rich? What do you do when you do the pruning? How does that go,
That's a good point. I had a topic on a Tuesday about pruning, knowing when to prune, knowing when to eliminate those bad branches, knowing when to prune your tree and keep the root together. That's very important. But also with that, there's a responsibility to understand why you're pruning, why you're cutting people out your life. Are you cutting people out your life because they're not being fans of yours? They're not doing and saying what you want them to say? That's not a reason to prune your life, people out of your life. It's really not. And then the other thing you got to ask yourself, when you're pruning, what's the reason that you're pruning? Not everyone deserves a seat at your table, but at the same time, the ones, if you are following leadership, true leadership, and you trust your mentors and advisors, and you live according to the will that you should be, the pruning would take care of itself.
Oh, wow. Wow.
You didn't have to remove these things, because if you bend the branch back and forth, it's going to be hard to tear off because it's not ready to be pruned. So you have to force it. But if you are living an obedient life, and you're serving your true passion, and you have the right people around you, those limbs, those bad leaves will fall automatically. So you have to understand why you're pruning. Don't just prune because someone made you upset by being truthful.
Oh, wow. Somebody made you upset for being truthful. Oh my goodness. They just told you the truth. And that is one of my biggest pet peeves, is for somebody to see me going in the wrong way and not tell me. Oh my gosh. I had one of my best friend told me about something that I was doing, even with my show. And I was so grateful for her candidness that it was a beautiful thing. It made me change some things instantly, right? It made me say, oh, golly gee, that is what people are seeing. So if that's what people are seeing, I need to change that. You know what I mean? So if people are in your life and they can't tell you and be truthful and honest with you, no, I don't want to do that. No, what you just did was wrong, ma'am. Right? They don't belong. You know what I mean? You have to change. And maybe, those people, if they're not being honest with you, don't see me going down a wrong road and don't correct me. That you're not being my friend. You're not being a person that's close to me, and you don't belong in my circle. And that's when, for me, that's when pruning has to come. Like, you may not be completely cut off, but your level is going to go down, because to me, in relationship, we have a responsibility to say, oh no, you're running down the wrong road. Don't go that way. So
I'm sorry, to cut you off. I have two examples. One of them is you, but one of them is another good buddy of mine. When I started this production company over 15 years ago, and when I started out, I had a small crew, and there was this one particular individual, I won't name him, but he was a professional in his industry. And as we began to grow, I saw that his appearance and his disposition wasn't as sufficient to the growth. So immediately, what I wanted to do was prune him.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to cut him, because I said that there's a next level, and I'm not going to be able to take him with me. But see, me now smart enough and understanding that you don't just prune people because you're not happy with them.
Huh.
You don't just prune people because they're not saying or doing what you want them to do.
Right.
You prune things when they're bad for you.
Yeah.
He wasn't bad for me. He just wasn't living up to the expectations. So how did I deal with that? Oddly enough, he was so passionate. He was always dependable, always on time, always deliver excellence. He just didn't look the part, his behavior, his characteristic. I tasked him in a leadership role,
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and we were able to grow significantly.
Yeah.
So on one hand, I was ready to cut him because he didn't rise to the occasion. But what he needed wasn't pruning, he needed developing.
Yes.
So we
Right.
have to be careful to not cut people so quick. And I'm going to use Aisha for an example. I had a couple of people watch the shows. Aisha, this is not what she does. She's not a tech savvy person. She's not a streamer. She's not a disc jockey. This is not her path. She has some background experience, but she knew nothing about this. So we put her in here and we threw her out there. So after a few shows, we've been doing this for a couple of months, people thought that maybe she should be pruned. She didn't make the cut. What would that do to her in her future and the society? What message? Giving you the same example of the guy that he didn't necessarily need to be cut. He just needed to be mentored.
Mm.
And while I was mentoring you, you were fighting, but you weren't fighting out of disrespect. You were fighting out of fear.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing I gotta commend you for is understanding the difference between criticism and correction.
Yes.
What I was doing with you was correcting you. I wasn't criticizing you. See, when you criticize, people use the word constructive criticism. I use correction.
Mm-hmm.
See, because I don't criticize people, I correct people. And what you do when you correct people, you walk with them. That's why I'm here today. That's why I'm on the show with you. I'm not one that says, let's just cut these people because they didn't do great or they had a bad couple of weeks or whatever the case is. If I did that, I would be alone.
Yeah. Right.
I would be perfect. If I cut everybody that made mistakes or everybody that wasn't great. Some people did not give up on me.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't dare just give up on someone that may not need to be pruned, may need to be coached.
Yes.
May need to be walked with and shown their faults and corrected, not necessarily criticized. So kudos to you for being able to, one, be honest and be transparent. It takes a lot to be public on your mistakes. I've made mine. I'm not in a hot seat because they didn't have this platform when I was making all my mistakes. I would have been in a hot seat too. So kudos to you for using your platform for good. So no, Aisha's not being cut. Aisha's being mentored, and she's growing significantly because how messed up would it be for society if a woman, to be particular, African American woman, works with an African American organization and she's not as perfect as we would like and we cut her? What are we telling her? She's not good enough and she's going to try to go somewhere else and they're going to do the same thing. We're damaging this person unnecessary because we're not taking the time to teach. We don't have patience.
Yeah.
We don't have patience with people anymore.
Yeah.
So we have too high of expectations. We're comparing them to too high of a level. Let's be realistic about this thing. Look at her experience. Look at her life. Look at where she come from. Look at where she's going.
Yeah.
And she's listening. She's listening enough to learn, but not necessarily trusting enough to be corrected.
Wow.
So now that we're here, sister, the sky's the limit. Keep doing what you're doing. I love what you're doing, and this is your home forever with me because you can handle correction.
Yes.
And that is so difficult for a lot.
It is very difficult, and it literally sometimes feel in what we do is get in our ego, and that when the ego is cut or bruised, it causes all kinds of things to go awry, and so or things to go off in our lives. And when we have had these moments in these places where we have not been able to trust the people who were our leaders, then we fear the next person that comes along that means us well. We fear that they're going to be the same way. They're going to treat us the same, give us the same treatment as the previous person who did not do right. Now, there are people that come into our lives and they don't do right. They treat us wrong. They misuse us and abuse us. However, God is faithful. And that's the thing that I'm going to, our third point is trusting and fighting God, fighting in life. And so, sometimes that's what we do. We fight in life. We just simply fight in life. And so it doesn't matter who the person is. We are wanting to just put up a fight and ready to say, no matter what, you're not going to get your way with me outright. I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to comply. Stop, ma'am. If you're in a hole, stop digging. I say that all the time. I've had to say that to people. If you're in a hole, stop digging. Stop digging. My rope goes 6 feet. Okay, my rope is gonna go 6 feet deep. If you keep digging to 6.5 feet, I cannot help you, and nobody else can help you to get out. Nobody else can put themselves down. And now, God, I thank God that He is faithful to bring us out of the hole. But He put people here on the earth for a reason. He put people here on the earth so that He doesn't have to go down our 6 feet, pick us up, and bring us out all the time. We want to say, as long as I got King Jesus, I don't need nobody else. Jesus needed 12 people. Only one of them was a devil. Okay, if He needed 12 people to get to get to the cross and get the purpose accomplished for His life, how much more do we need people?
Right.
And we do need them. Our responsibility is to stop digging. Just stop digging and listen. And the funniest thing, I can teach and I can talk about these things because I've been there and I've done that. Yet I'm still going and I'm still saying, okay, there's more for me to get. I stopped digging. I grabbed a hold of the rope and I said, pull me out of here, because I am messing this thing up and I'm not doing it right. So can you please help me? Help me to get it right, And the funny thing is, sometimes we listen to people who have already accomplished. Yes, stand on the front line and teach us. Teach us who want to learn, and our responsibility in that is just to submit. You have a leader at your job. You have a leader in your home. You have somebody who is in your life who's willing to help you. Are you willing, though, to listen? Are you willing not just to listen to their words? Are you willing to comply and stop fighting? It doesn't matter what age they are, because they could be younger than you. I have people who are younger than me that I sit down and listen to. I'm like, girl, how you do that? How did you get to that level? How did you even accomplish that? I sit down, I listen to them, and I say, oh, okay, if you did that, how much more can I do that? It does not, the age and that doesn't matter. My responsibility is, sometimes I did the show, offended some women. Oh, Lord. Shh. Woman, just be quiet. Don't just let your mouth be quiet, but let your spirit be quiet too. Shh. Just be quiet. Oh, gosh. And I heard about that, but I can only tell you, woman, sometimes calm it down. It's okay. And even to the wives, your husband is not your homegirl. I wanted my husband to be a homegirl. I wanted him to sit down and talk to me and listen to me and all this stuff. Men, they probably not built like that. They got about 1,500 words a day. Women got 15,000. And so I'm learning. So, and that's our third point is yielding to God. Stop fighting God. Stop. Just stop.
I got one for you. To piggyback on that, and appreciate your points. Some good points, some good nuggets. Yvette, come on, let's get these nuggets so we can put them out there. Listen, if you're God-fearing woman, man, or whoever, if you really believe that God died for your sins, why are you concerned about going to hell if He's already paid for it?
Wow.
Already paid for it. So the point I'm trying to make is, if people before you have done it so that you don't have to go through it?
Mm. Wow.
Why aren't you trusting the process? Something that simple. God has already paid for our sins, right?
Yeah. Right.
And that has been taken care of.
The price has been
So,
paid.
with that being said, I'm not saying live maliciously. I'm saying if the ways have already been paved for you, why are you getting off the road?
Wow. Why are you getting off the road? Why are you not yielding to what he put? Why are you not yielding even to your purpose?
The work
Why?
is already done.
It's already been done. The work has been done. All we have to do is just follow the instructions. And the instructions, they're not hard. My mentor, she would tell me things, things that I even prepare for the show and stuff. And she helps me to get it together and get it right. And one thing that she tells me that I need to do, and something that you tell me that I need to do, I do it, and then she'll give me. Oh gosh, this is part of the industry, the complying with the industry, that you got to go back and you got to do it again. Oh Lord Jesus, you may as well just put me on the cross. You got to tell me I got to go back and I got to do it again. I've given the finished product. Yet she says go back and do it again, and I'm like, Lord, help me. But if I have chosen to be in this industry, then that's my responsibility to yield to the counsel that's been given. And a lot of times it's hard to do. It's not even that it's hard. It's just we don't want to do it. And I have been guilty of saying, look, I'm not doing it again. But what am I made of? What am I actually made of? Am I cut out for this? Am I cut out? Do I make the cut? Sometimes I don't see it. And sometimes we don't see it within ourselves. But those like you, Rich, see it within me. And you can say, what you don't see, I do. So let me help you to get there. Lord Jesus, and that's what we have. We have the privilege of people who are leaders, who've been down the road. And they can help us to get there if we just comply.
You're right.
If we just comply.
Points you made there.
Yeah. So I am so grateful to have had this conversation and just being transparent. I'm still learning in this thing. I'm still learning. I was a blogger. Rich met me as a blogger, a woman who writes, and that is what I do. I do write. I love to descriptively say things that will grab people in. Now I have to translate. What I'm doing now is translating that writing and those things, that information that's in my head, to visual, to ways that people can get it visually and over the airwaves. That's a whole different level. But somebody sees in me the potential and the ability to do it. And you see that in me. And so I got to push Isha to get out of her own way.
Oh, that's deep. That's deep.
Yeah.
That is deep. That is deep. So I wanted to leave a couple of nuggets for those people that are finding this conversation valuable. One of the things that I always tell Aisha is that who you need to be is already inside of you.
Wow.
A lot of times we're looking for a superpower. We're looking for our purpose. We're trying to find our niche. We have it. It's never outside of us. It's always within us. And the question you got to ask yourself is, are you honoring that of which you've been gifted with? Are you being true to your own gift? And if you cannot see it, it's because I believe you're not quiet enough.
Wow.
And I believe that in my heart that a lot of us do and partake on things that was not intended for us. If you're quiet, soul, internally, you'll hear it. It will call you. It will nudge at you. You have to be quiet enough to hear what your purpose is. It's the thing that annoys others that you love. It's the thing that draws itself to you naturally. It's not what you force. So you have to be quiet. And then the other thing is find some time to yourself. Turn off your phone. Take 10 minutes. I call it the 10-10-10 rule. Be quiet for 10 minutes. Turn your electronics off for 10 minutes. Take 10 minutes to write down what your visions and goals are. And do all of that with a calm spirit. Do it with a calm spirit. And then ask yourself about the help that you're receiving, the mentors that are in your life. Ask them. Ask yourself, are these people true to value? Are they bringing peace and value? Or are they bringing disruption and confusion? And these simple things can really, really help you navigate through life a lot better. So don't just let anybody help you. But
Come
just
on now.
understand it's good help.
Yes, yes, yes. And understanding,
Understand the difference.
being discerning enough to know who really has a pure heart, and their fruit will show. That's the thing about it. The fruit of who they are will show. And when you look at the fruit of their labor, then you can say, oh, okay, I can trust that person. And then God has already put it in you. God has already put in you a level of discernment that you can see that this person means you well. And if they do mean you well, submit. Just submit. Just yield. And so I have been pruned, corrected, shown a proper way that I can do things better. And I'm grateful for you, Rich. I really am. And, go get it right. Understand that this is the Isha I Am Woman show where needed conversations happen, okay? And this is a much needed conversation. And I'm grateful for you having been here and share these nuggets with me and share these nuggets with our audience. I want to thank God for so many, the people who have come on to listen, to just join the conversation, because they have been a blessing. Thank you, Pastor Lucretia. Thank you, Lynn, who is over on Facebook. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday. Pembroke from Pines. Thank you, guys. Miss Lena, Miss Ronnie, Yvette, and that cat Dave. Thank y'all for coming on and tuning in, because was a needed conversation. And it doesn't matter what industry you're in. If you just listen, yield, follow, you'll win. You'll find yourself winning. So any closing thoughts you want to share with us, Rich, that that'll help us all?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the Isha I Am Woman show. For you guys that have been patient with her and us, we're getting this together. And not only that, you're watching someone develop transparently, and they're being humble and honest enough to come and expose everything on the show. But also what I'm trying to do is really, really show people how to exemplify what leadership is. It is not saying that I am in charge. It is not barking orders or cutting people out of the organization. It is mentoring and developing one, so at some point they can do the same for others. And whether it's on this platform or not, you don't want to miss an opportunity to sow seeds into someone that God has already ordained to do something. And I don't want to be the reason that I don't want God looking at me saying, I sent her your way and you didn't do right.
Wow.
So there's a reason why she's in my life. There's a reason why Ronnie's in my life, Yvette and the whole team, that cat Dave and Red. So it's just not by me being selective. I think divine intervention has put us together. So as a result, I'm being obedient, not just to the industry, but I'm being obedient to the man above.
Wow.
So when you walk through this pathway with the MSC Network and Rich Live and the whole family here, one thing you will not say is that we didn't do right by you. I'm doing my due diligence. See, I'm selfish, and take this nugget with you. Be selfish, because it is so rewarding to reap the benefits of serving. So I serve so much and I give so much that you don't understand the reward.
Yeah.
So it's not about me. Serve something, serve someone. Don't make it about yourself. The pruning it will most often take care of itself. People will walk out of your life when they don't belong if you keep living it gracefully. Now,
Yeah.
some people you're going to have to prune. So before we wrap up, I just want to love on you and admire the fact that you were willing to be transparent with not being perfect. Me, being transparent in my leadership. People felt that I should have did A, B, C, D, E, F, G, but at the end of the day, like I said, I am being obedient to the industry and the man that I serve above, because these people came my way for a reason, a season, or a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
One thing they won't be able to say is that it was time wasted.
Yeah.
Because I'm pouring into you and I'm holding you accountable. And I want everyone that's listening to hold the people around you accountable. And if they're not okay with being held accountable, then that's when you prune.
Right. Right.
Aisha's here because she's okay with correction. Question yourself, are you okay with correction?
That's good. That will be our closing thought. Are you okay with correction? And are you willing to comply with it? And that's, pretty much what the theme of what our show is about tonight here on the Isha I Am Woman show. Like I said, where needed conversations happen. And every leader, as Lynn said, every leader must be teachable and reachable. You have to be teachable. And so if I'm leading people, I have to be under and submitted to someone's leadership. And so, that's what we've talked about tonight, and we will grow from here. This is all. I'm looking forward to growth and going to the next level. And I want to challenge all of our listeners to whatever place you're in, and we are in like the Whole 30 challenge. This has definitely been a challenge for me personally, to change my diet and change the way I'm eating and things. And so we get that from Dat Cat Dave on Tuesdays, Thursdays. He comes on to teach about fitness and nutrition. And Rich Live is here on Tuesdays, and he talks and gives us nuggets like this. I mean, it's so rich with rich with information and helping people to go to the next level. Wednesday night we have Red, who's on to share about, well, not, he doesn't just talk on Wednesday nights. He plays music and it's awesome. He's an awesome DJ. And Monday nights as well. Back again on Saturday nights to jam. And I was jamming out with Miss Karen last night. She was rocking the house, let me tell you something. And so glad to be able to be a part of her coming onto the team as well. So, and we also have one more new person coming, so I'm excited about that. So I want everybody to tune into all of the stuff we have going on right here on the Mega Source Entertainment, msenetwork.com. You can tune in all the time. I want to see people tuning in all the time, because let me tell you, this is the place to be, and this is a place where we're going to grow and reach the world. So thank you, Rich. Thank you for joining me, and thank you, everybody, for coming on tonight. We will see you next week, Sunday, right
Thank
here.
you for having me. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Yes. Thank you. And we're going to bid you a good night. I know whoever's team, I hope the Cowboys won tonight. I really do. They were 19-10 when I stopped watching. So we're going to fade out. Go on and enjoy your evening. And we will see you right here next week, Sunday, right here on the Isha I Am Woman show. Have a good evening.